Hi, folks. How are you this afternoon? I just wanted to welcome you all. Thank you for coming to NCECA and to this presentation, which is Current Directions in Iranian Ceramics. Our presenter is going to be Rahale Filsufi. And Rahale utilizes ancient and contemporary art media, including clay, poetry, sound, and video to talk about perception and memory. She received her BFA in Tehran at Al-Zahra University and her MFA at Florida Atlantic University. She moved to the United States in 2003 from Iran and currently splits her time between Tehran, Iran, Boca Raton, Florida, and Edinburgh, Texas, where she is the assistant professor of ceramics in the School of Art at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. And Rahale is currently a freshly minted board member of Art Axis and has worked and has done commissions and received awards all over the US and internationally. I would ask really quickly before Rahale begins to speak that you double check that you've turned your ringers off on your cell phones. And if you haven't already been reminded by enough people, please vote for the NCECA board members. All right, and please join me in welcoming Rahale.
Thank you, Shanda, for your kind introduction. And thanks for everybody for being here. It has been a great day for Iranian ceramics today because we had this morning, there was another talk on Iranian pottery by two wonderful scholars, Jillian and Seth. My pronunciation is really bad with last name, so can I have your last name one more time? Eklund, yes. So I know her by Jillian, so it's which was a great introduction to Iranian pottery. So today it's kind of a continuation of what she started this morning. So I'm the international coordinator for the upcoming Iranian exhibition. And I would like to give some insight about what's happening in Iranian contemporary ceramic today, and I'm thankful to all of you for being here. So I'm trying to navigate that. Many people don't know it, but Tehran is a major capital for contemporary art, and recent initiatives highlights the potential for ceramics to, that play a major role on this stage. The importance of Persia to the history of ceramics is well known, but the isolation of modern-day Iran has kept the country's continuing progress in this medium from the mainstream of global engagement. This contribution intend to outline developments in ceramics within a larger context of a vibrant Iranian contemporary art scene by highlighting two recent shows that have been promoted by the Art Academy Art and later Abad Gallery in Tehran, as well as a third exhibition that is planned for 2019. This is the image of Abad Gallery in Tehran, which is going to plan this exhibition for next in 2019. Here, I would like to also give acknowledgement to two Iranian artists, Rojhan Hosseini and Hirbod Hemmatazad, both of whom started the Art Academy of Art together with other artists a few years ago. The Art Academy was a place that nurtured the next generation of artists, and it was a place for critical dialogue between artists and scholars. These artists became the founder of the Abad Gallery, and Rojhan is the director of all these initiatives. The first exhibition, Breakable, in 2015 saw the participation of 45 Iranian artists, and the second one, Frontier, 2017, drew 60 participating artists from Iran, the United States, and Japan. The important initiatives in ceramic and ceramic-based art that these shows represent are by no means limited to Iranian artists. You can see that this, at least in the second exhibition, and the range of their thematic foci underscore the organizer concern of conceptual freedom and interest in work that addresses issues at the level of the individual and society as a whole. The first show held in December of 2015 at Tehran Niavaran Palace, which was called Breakable. Here you can see the image of curator, juror, and a few artists. The exhibition adopted a new approach to ceramic material, though, whose functional characteristic had been dominant up to this point in ceramic biennials. The directors hoped that the contribution to this show would express concept hidden in the work just by way of what one might call ceramic language. To put it simply, it was a show of ceramic works that did not necessarily have to use clay, and kind of ceramic as in general was the medium. And for this reason, the exhibition was called ceramic-based. This was considered a turning point for the role of ceramics in the realm of visual art. Ceramic became independent of its primary material and free from titles, names, and past concerns. Shekastani, which was the title of the first one, Breakable, plays on fundamental fragility of the rigid clay body, but it extends also to ephemeral qualities of this otherwise almost eternal material and the field itself, in which there is no specific division between applied and fine art. As the organizer stated in their invitation, today Iranian contemporary ceramic art needs to break the bonds of its own depression by ceasing to look unidirectionally at thematic, stylistic, and technical issues, and also seek to address social and cultural issues in a very creative way. Exhibition goal was to exhibit new works by contemporary Iranian artists to provide an environment for new criticism and dialogue. A criteria for evaluation was to consider the various roles that ceramic plays in contemporary art to address theoretical, cultural, and social issues, to find a creative and innovative definition for Iranian cultural identity beyond the common traditional approaches. The exhibition was composed with a dynamic, rather unconventional selection of the artists. The member of the board of Ad Academy invited 25 artists from different disciplines. They also invited 3 curators with different and diverse background to select artists. The call for the interview was intended to encourage a young generation of the artists to participate also and give them opportunity to work as kind of independent of their artistic background. The total number of artists that participated was roughly 40, and they were mostly women, and all were Iranians. Also, there was invitation for scholars to come to Iran. Mr. Jakes Kaufman, the president of International Academy of Ceramics, was invited to give lecture, Concept in Contemporary Ceramics. It was a very first in opening the door to artists and scholars from outside of Iran to participate and extend a dialogue about ceramics beyond the Iranian art community of Tehran. While the artists presented work in various materials that included metal and fiber, the show marked a consolidation of the identity of ceramics as a medium for conceptual art. The themes that they address range from intensely personal relations with the ceramic medium itself to current affairs in world politics. For example, Azadeh Zandi presents a bowl with ceramic wishbone. The Iranian version of this worldwide game focuses on memory. When 2 people break a wishbone, they make a promise. The breaking of the wishbone seals the promise that the game lies into, continues to remember the promise. The fragility of the wishbone is counted by the strength of one's memory. Narges Farahani, a graphic designer, presents ceramic as a metaphor for one's relation to past cultural traditions. She places a series of plates in a metal vice clamp as if they were set out to dry by the sink. The plates are painted with traditional designs which represent the rich Persian ceramic traditions. Her title is Will It Be Broken? She adds ambiguously, for breaking 10 ceramics plates, a little force is sufficient, but for which, what does she mean? She seems to present a dilemma. It would be easy to dispense with tradition, to destroy what is old and make way for what is new. But what are the consequences? And if we wanted to do so, would be able? Milad Azizi, a conceptual artist who describes himself as a painter, addresses the issue of Iran's nuclear program in a grid of rotating bricks that together form a mural composition showing a 1960s-like postage stamp with the globe orbited by atomic particles. Written across the field is the phrase "Atom for Peace," which is the title of the work. The author's statements refers to the god Marduk, who is the Babylonian mythology, in Babylonian mythology, gave not only land, water, and bricks to humankind, but also a dynamic energy to build. I was also an invited artist for this exhibition, and the only artist that was invited from outside Iran. In a larger installation and performance, I presented an allegory for the world current refugee crisis. 10 ceramic vessels literally traveled from one part of the world to another, from the United States to Iran by postal service and by personal carrier. Some vessels arrived, here you see the process. Some vessels arrived in seemingly good conditions, while others arrived broken, some not at all. The metaphor that pots are people was transformed into a performance piece. The fragility of ceramic vessels, just like that of human beings, is sometimes visible and sometimes hidden. And that's arrival of the pieces in the exhibition. The exhibition was very successful and well received in Tehran. The works shown in Breakable, in fact, were shown again later on in Fajr International Festival of Visual Art, an event that was founded in 2009 under the supervision of Ministry of Culture. The aim of this event was to introduce original ideas, interactive and creative artistic works from visual artists around the world. The second exhibition, which was called Frontier, was held in July 2017 at the Iranian Artists Forum, or the House of the Artists. This is the hub for the contemporary and traditional art in Tehran. The idea beyond this show was this: a frontier is a theoretical space between objects arrayed by some sort of convention, and its presence can be found in everything from political sovereignty to the dimensions of personal and social life. Frontier may be found in the limits that separate the self from the other, that separates genders, personalities, ethics, and beliefs, and even the established divisions among the arts and other media of production. The organizers' four explicit goals were: one, to consider borders and frontiers as a zone as well as limits in the contemporary world; to utilize the features of the ceramics in its expanded field in order to encourage, recognize, and apply the potential of ceramics in the field of visual art; to make an atmosphere of familiarity and interaction with the works of artists from other countries; and to address local, regional, and translocal concerns. The exhibition call for artists followed the same selection method as the first one. The organizers selected the curators from Japan and United States as well. In this case, to widen the initiative beyond the borders of Iran proper. 6 curators and 63 artists came from different disciplines and some non-ceramic disciplines at all. The exhibition included works in various media, including painting, photography, sculptures, installation, performance, and other time-based art, while the first exhibition, Breakable, remained for the most part in the realm of clay-based ceramic production. The second show saw widespread use of other media, such as sound, video, photography, and other media that are common these days in installation. Here I'm going to present just few curators and artists for this exhibition. Curator Behnad Lahuti, he focused on the boundary between functional art and fine art. As an artist himself, he also confronted what defines an object in those realms. However, he concluded that there is not a specific border between them, because currently there are some industrial production that could be considered artwork. Nevertheless, since he could not include or have access to such artists that produce such works in Iran, he simply selected those artists that he knew would share the same challenges as he did. Some of these artists used functional objects in a new context, and a few tried to use the objects to express complex ideas, while others went beyond the functionality of the objects. Behzad Ajdari was one of his selection, who was a rather famous Iranian ceramic artist. His work addressed in a subtle way the cultural significance of functional pottery. When a potter makes a work, is she or he free to endow it with the form and decoration that he or she desires, or is just constrained by the weight and rules of the traditions to make the work in a particular way? The analogy, of course, lies in the cultural identity and life ways that people assume. The border lies between individual choice and social expectation. In the exquisitely executed painting in blue hatching and figural decoration, which is incompletely applied to the exterior of a bowl-like vessel, leads to a hole through which one looks into the pedestal beneath the bowl, where there is a painted version of well-known Seljuqi composition. The image really is not justifying the beautiful work and the complexity of the work. Another curator who is also the director of this initiative is Rochana Hosseini. In her statement, she addressed the notion of purity and impurity in a metaphorical reference to the way in which ceramics is practiced. Primary clay is obtained from decomposition of rock in place. Kaolin is an example of this, and it is a metaphor for purity. The migration of clay from the pure mountain heights to lower secondary deposits by rivers is a kind of impurity that changes the clay, while the presence of impurities gives the clay character a greater flexibility and a wider range of application in ceramics. The pure first type of clay gives a better clay body after firing. The world today is marked by pluralism and the amalgamation of knowledge and practice. This is an important question when one considers ceramic traditions. And in a wider context, Hosseini asked to what degree is pluralism valuable? In her selection of artists, Hosseini looks for those artists that focus on the relation of purity and impurity as a kind of frontier. The first artist she selected, Najme Khalaj, which by adding an impurity, lime, to the clay body of bowls, Nafisa addresses inner tension that have always been a concern for her. She uses this self-portrait as a means to look seriously inside a person and at this inner tension. She tries to find the border between her inner monster and herself. She asks the question, where is the border between light and darkness? Aren't our impurities what makes our personalities and identity? She has this to say in her statement. Perhaps life is a matter of walking on the edge of such tension and contradictions without judging them. Maybe it is the impression of intuitive experiences and experimental feelings which takes place precisely on this border. I was also an invited artist in the second exhibition. My work, which was called I'm Still Traveling, featured ceramic loudspeakers made from clay, taken from different places that I had resided. In this work, I negotiate physical boundaries through the sense of sound and sight as an immigrant caught between two cultures. I find myself flanked by two cultural realms and try to negotiate the path between them. Two ceramic speakers are set on either side of a space into which the viewer walks. From either side, the viewer hears equivalent statement in Farsi and English while looking forward at a screen onto which are projected a series of envelopes. It is easy for envelope to cross the boundary, while it's much more difficult for a person to do so. No one questions the envelope, but everyone questions the individual. The next artist was Safa Hosseini. In her work, Safa has an installation in large room by the image of a male donkey in one side and image of female horse in the other. The wall in between has the repetition of the images of mules, which is the offspring of that mix. Horse and donkey are different species with different numbers of chromosomes, while a mule is an example of hybrid vigor, but they are not either a horse or a donkey, and they are sterile. In the center of the room, the ceramic feet of mule are stuck in a bit of a clay slip, giving reference to the Persian idioms, misle khar to gilgir kardan, which literally means like a mule is stuck in mud. The artist refers to hybridity as a struggle that one cannot get out of, or in other words, that the world is not a place for acceptance or argument. In transforming one's work in the spirit of the global village, or by mingling and denying borders with others, we end up in a sterile condition. Safa Hosseini criticizes the current place and situation of the helpless pluralism of contemporary art. She also quotes the Buddha, all composed elements are condemned to decline. Outside of Iran, Frontier continued in two different locations. The first one was in Bailey Contemporary Art Center in Pompano, Florida. Sarah Miller Benhu invited 8 artists as a curator from different states and diverse art practices. She followed the general statement of frontier. She just only questioned the difference in meaning among the word border, frontier, and boundary. Since all expressed by the same word in Farsi, there is not the nuanced diction of the English language in the original statement. So she let the artist explore the difference in their work. One of the artists that she selected, Antoni Eslachio, explores the personal frontier of physical, emotional, and spiritual life by gathering soil from important places, his father's grave, his mother's home, his birthplace, and from 2 New Orleans cemeteries, and placing them in a plexiglass display boxes together with found objects that constitute important mementos. As he says in his statement, these rituals of process are confrontational, and their beauty and the beauty or art that result is mostly incidental. Frontier in Japan took place at the Shigaraki Ceramic Cultural Park. The park was opened in June 1990 as a part of a People Recreation Land project. The aim of SCCP also include the promotion of local industry and development of culture through human resources, materials, and informational exchanges that interface with the world. What place could be better, more appropriate for a show called Frontier? Hiroko Miyara, the curator for Japan, invited 3 artists for the exhibition. 2 of them were artists in residence in this institution. One of the artists, Ruriko Miyamoto, the artist's work is developed around a basic contrast that the world is made out of diverse cultural expression through personalities and motifs. While Mother Earth strives for unity and harmony, in reaching directly for harmony and unity, the artist reaches out to religious communities around the world and asks them for pebble, earth, and found objects from their respective sacred places. These items are placed in a translucent ceramic box and fired in kiln. The firing process symbolizes the item's transformation into pureness. During the exhibition, the ceramic boxes were exhibited on an altar with a light below each box. The light was a visual symbol that expressed the many religious affiliation and personal faith that are found on our planet. As people attended the exhibition, joined and shared the sense of harmony in diversity or oneness. The gathering of sacred spaces, their reflection, contemplation, and their connection become the essence of the artwork's purpose. In this work, reaching unity and harmony was a challenge to the boundaries that separate all religions. What's coming next is the next show is planned for 2019, and will focus on the concept of the other. The theme treats the field of ceramics as the other with the respect to the arts. It's a time-honored complaint that ceramics are treated as a craft that is somehow secondary to other art media. In this exhibition, artists that work in different media will be collaborating in a project that is to be conceived and executed this so-called ceramic way as a kind of continuation of Frontier. And I'm happy to announce that for this upcoming event, we're going to have a partnership with Art Access in the United States, and currently we are working to set the exhibition for American artists that are working with this Iranian artist in 2020 for NCCA. So it's going to happen sometimes between 2019 and 2020. The shows mentioned here are only a few selected expressions of the very vibrant contemporary art scene in Tehran, which has already gained international recognition, for example, in film and photography. Private art institutions such as Art Academy, which was founded in 2014, and public commissions are giving artists opportunities for active creative output and the conceptual depth and focus evident in these shows is a sign of the continuing relevance of ceramic to Iranian culture today. The attention that is justly given to the country's ceramic heritage should now encompass the many ways in which ceramics are being interpreted and promoted in Iran today. Thank you so much, and if there is any question, I would be more than happy to answer. Am I good with time? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay. Great. Oh, okay. Can I stand here? Okay. Is there any question I would be more than happy? And we are encouraging actually artists and curators who are interested to participate in this exhibitions to contact me. We are trying to make that connection between Iranian and American curators and artists. So if any of you are interested, or if you know any of curators that they're interested to work with Iran, I highly recommend you to just please share my information. We will make that connection.
Hello. Yeah, it was very good, great presentation. You see, this is my first time to come across with somebody from Iran talking about the art. So I just want to ask you, as a person from Iran, about some of the work about Iranian artists. I've seen that some of the people that were showing their art, they look youthful. Do you have, my first question, do you have seniors, people who actually create ceramic art? The second question would be, how do you define how do you define Iranian art? So is it like static, or is it changing? So how do you describe it from inside perspective? So I don't want to judge you. Sure. That's why.
Yes, we have a very active our ceramic community, well, compared with the United States, is not that diverse and big, but we have different ranges of people who practicing ceramics very professionally. As you see, these exhibitions that I showed, mostly for kind of a conceptual artist, and that's why it's very specific. Younger generations are more interested to participate or come to the openings. As if you saw some of them in these images. How I define, as I said, it's a very vibrant art community. Iranian artists recently tried to break the boundaries. They participate in exhibition all over the places. They're very good connected to social media, and they know what's happening in the world. I must say that during the past 10 years, there has been a huge kind of openness to the different using different media, different, even conceptually, it has been a great kind of approach within the Iranian community. So I must say that it's an exciting time for Iranian contemporary artists, especially in Europe. They've been received really well. They exhibit really good. There's a connection with some of the countries in that region in Middle East. So it's vibrant. Did I answer your question?
Yeah,
yes, yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Yes.
Are you noticing tangible, measurable changes when artists work abroad and come back, or when people abroad come to visit? Is there a clear sense of impact and change?
It's happening, but this is started 2015, and even for Iranian within Iran, for ceramic artists, processing that now concept is taking place instead of technique was a little bit difficult in the beginning to digest. So the 2017 was a little bit better if people would understand, what's the reason for this breaking boundaries with other mediums. So it became a little bit, but certainly bringing artists, and that's why the Iranian organizers within the ceramic field and also outside of that, they try to get connected and bring people. Because what happens then, they get invited and go. So they want that communication, happens either physically or via, social media. But the change is happening. In ceramic is going a little bit slower. But these two exhibitions really made a lot of changes. But I think we have a long way to go. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you all coming.